Hi there, it's Dr. Leslie. I said it kind of as a joke. The last reaction video that I did that I need to do a new series called Triggered with Dr. Leslie because I keep getting triggered by all these migraine rules and bad advice in my social media feeds. So after I went home, after I recorded, I was like, you know what, I like that idea. I think we're going to run with this. So here's the first official episode of Triggered with Dr. Leslie, where I go through some of the advice runs the gamut from some of the advice is very well-meaning, but just a little off base, to things that actually really trigger me because if you follow this advice or you buy into the mindset behind the advice, you're really going to shipwreck your health and you're never going to stop the migraines. Okay, so we're going to run the gamut here in this series. And so I'm kicking this off in June 2026, which is Migraine Awareness Month. So this month in particular, we've got the purple ribbons, we got the hashtags, we got the migraine merch, and I'm trying to counter all of it with a little actual good advice for women who are prone to migraines just like me. So let's dive into this. I have something I want to talk about with you. Okay, so here, this was kind of a cute post. You know, who doesn't like some of these like little memes and stuff like that? So this is a cute little series of things that migraine sufferers will definitely resonate from the account Life with Migraine. So, I don't know why managing migraine feels so overwhelming. The internet. Treat early for best results, but don't treat too often, but also don't let it turn into medication overuse headache, right? The dreaded rebound. So, absolutely, right? I did get triggered by a neurologist talking about this, right? So, particularly neurologists are really big on this. And I know from listening to my clients, this is something that really gets them many times too. They go to their neurologist and, the neurologist says, well, how is the Imitrex working? Well, I guess it's working okay, but doc, I don't want to take too much. So I only take it after I've waited a little bit when I know that it's going to be a really, really bad migraine because I don't want to take too much of this, right? That's a good thing, right? And then the neurologist kind of yells at them, kind of reprimands them. What do you mean? You got to take it immediately, right? At the very first moment. I call it the uh-oh moment, right? The uh-oh, something's brewing here, right? You got to take that medication right at the uh-oh moment. So then, my woman goes back, starts taking it right at that uh-oh moment. Well, then she's running out of pills, right? She can't make it through the month. She only gets 9 Imitrex a month. So, it's becoming less and less effective. She's getting more and more migraines. She goes back to the doctor. I need more of this. Well, what do you mean? You're taking too much. You're going to give yourself rebound. You're going to give yourself medication overuse headache. It's those kinds of appointments where I get a lot of people reaching out to me after that type of frustrating appointment. So yeah, this is a good one, right? Take it early. Don't take too much, right? I mean, give me a break. Okay, here's another one. Avoid your triggers, right? So if you've been following me on my podcast, Healing Migraines Naturally with Leslie Caesar ND, I talk so much about triggers, right? It's not the triggers that are causing your migraines, okay? I know that's what you've been told. I know it feels like that, right? To us, it feels like that, but it's not really the triggers that are causing the migraine. But everybody is told, track your triggers, right? You can't avoid your triggers until you track your triggers. So this is the first infuriating stage of this advice because now I got to track everything, right? So instead of just living my life, I have to track everything, right? Like I'm a FBI agent. So then you track it and then you try to piece it together, right? Okay, was this really the thing? Was it really the sunlight? Was it really the tomatoes? Was it really the sauce, right? What was it? So then we kind of identify that. So then the bubble wrapping starts, right? Oh, I call this, we wrap ourselves in bubble wrap because we're trying to protect ourselves from all of these triggers that first we had to track and then we had to decipher and identify. Now I got to avoid all of these and I got to bubble wrap myself and try to protect myself. But don't live in fear of them because then you're going to stress yourself out and then you're going to feel worse, right? Because stress is a trigger, right? So, but also, right, be prepared at all times, right? Don't forget your hat, your sunglasses, your snacks in your purse, right? Your water bottle, right? All these things, right? So I thought this one was pretty cute. But again, I want to reiterate, it's not the triggers. It's not the triggers that are causing your migraine. If you want to find out more, go to my podcast. I've talked about this a lot. Okay. Hi there. I want to jump in real quick and tell you about my client, Beth. She was getting 15 to 20 migraines and headaches per month. And as you can imagine, This was impacting her work performance and her confidence. She also has 2 small children, and she was starting to feel like she was a horrible mom because she had nothing left for them at the end of the day. But she reached out and she booked a free consult call with me, and after I asked her about her migraines and her health history, I felt confident that I could help her. I help women uncover the root drivers of their migraines and follow a step-by-step plan to dramatically reduce the frequency by up to 90% without adding more medication or taking a bunch of supplements. So we built her personal migraine map, followed the plan, and now she will get 1 to 2 migraines per year, which she uses ibuprofen to treat if she needs to, versus up to 15 to 20 per month when we first started working together that weren't responding well to any medication. She just reached out to tell me that she got a promotion at work, she's on top of her career again, and has been able to come off all of her migraine medication. But most importantly, she's a confident mom again, and she's attending birthday parties at Jump Zone with her kids and saying yes instead of saying maybe later. I've worked with women like Beth from all over the United States who were told, this is the best we can do, but they were still willing to dig deeper. So if you're serious about changing your migraine story, go to drlesliecaesar.com/apply or tap the link in the show notes, and on our free consult, we'll map out why your migraines keep coming back and the first 3 steps you can take over the next 30 days. I do cap new client spots each month, so if the calendar is full, the doors are closed for now. But if you're done feeling helpless and ready to do the work to heal, pause this episode for 30 seconds and book that consult call now. Let's see the next one. Stress. Reduce stress, right? But don't stress about stressing. But also keep up with everything, right? So yeah, reduce your stress. If everybody could do that, nobody would have any problems, right? How do you go about doing that? How do you go about reducing your stress, right? So this is another very infuriating one. And what I would say about stress, I've actually covered this on the podcast a couple times too. So what's so fascinating about stress, right? And so I'm going to use, like in this case, I'm going to talk about mental and emotional stress, like things that we call stress. You know, I was stressed out. I got stressed out at work. My coworker is stressing me out, right? That type of stress. It's very funny because if we really stop and think about it, right? Like, I'm sure you have that one girlfriend where like she's got her like hot button, right? If that button gets pushed, oh boy, is she stressed, right? And to her, this is the most important thing. This is like, you know, top level, you know, it's so obvious that this is horrible what happened, right? No one would disagree. It's so clear cut, right? And, you know, we love her, we care about her, we enjoy her, but we're sitting there going, you know, this really isn't that big of a deal. Like, this wouldn't bother me in the least. I'd love to have this problem, right? So things that stress us out, and, you know, I'm not talking about like a war erupts, okay? I'm talking about these little idiosyncratic things that we stress out about, right? If we're really honest, right, everybody has their little button or a couple buttons. Some people have more buttons than others, but that button has to get pushed. It has to be a stressor that we're really sensitive to that pushes our buttons. And then something else, right, could happen to us at work that, you know, that infamous coworker, right, that's just, you know, bent on sabotaging everybody, right? Oh, you know, that's just how she is. You know, I'd let that go, right? But then there's that other coworker in the cubicle next to her. She does one thing, we're on it, right? We're awake at 3 a.m. I can't believe she said that. I wish I had said that back to her. I wish I were quicker on my feet. I would have really ripped it, you know, I would have ripped a good one in the meat, right? So one coworker, the next coworker, we're up at 3 a.m. replaying, you know, every meeting we've had with her for the past 2 years and recrafting what we would say to her instead, right? So, you know, to just say, well, let it go, reduce your stress, you only live once, it's just work, why you care so much, right? You go home, you talk to your husband, you say, you won't believe what she did to me, and he goes, oh, you know, what do you care? It's just these people, right? You just want to strangle him, right? Because to you, you're in the state that your girlfriend was in, where it was like, this is like, this is top level, like this is obvious, this is so clear cut, right? Nobody would argue with me that this is a big deal, right? But that's not really the case. We have these buttons, and when they get pushed, this whole thing gets activated. We're only stressed out when those particular buttons get pushed. So what's really the work here is not to do, deep breathing, trying to willpower our way to stop thinking about, that woman in the cubicle, right? What the real work is here is, okay, what is this button? What is it exactly? Really understand, what is this button that's getting pushed? How did it get there? And what sort of underlying meaning or story is this generating in me? And do I want to continue that? You can continue it. I don't care. You say, you know what, I don't really want to continue this. Then we make a decision. And from there, everything changes, right? So it's not just about reduce stress or deep breathing, meditation, yoga, spa day, right? This is what we really want to do when we're talking about reducing stress. Okay, so the next one, the internet. Push through when you can, but don't overextend and pay for it later. But also don't let migraine define your limits. I love this one, right? All this, hashtag, migraines don't define me. Well, let's get real. When you're laying in bed and you can't function, you're pretty much being taken down by migraines. So they are going to put a limit on you, that's for sure. And I'm just chuckling because I've been there, right? This is just between us, right? The little dark humor that comes with migraines, and I'm only laughing because I've definitely been there with you guys. So yeah, it's sort of like this. This also drives people insane. What do I do today, right? I got that thing on Friday. Today's Tuesday. I know I got all this other stuff between now and Friday. Should I cancel something now? Am I going to make it till Friday? How many spoons do I have, right? All of this mental calculation around what should I do? Should I take a step forward? Should I pause, right? It's totally exhausting. The answer to this is not to conserve spoons. It's not to do all of this calculation, all of this mental gymnastics. The answer to this is to restore your resiliency and vitality, which is a very real thing that allows you to weather stressors, physical stressors, mental and emotional stressors. If you're moving, there's physical stress on your body, right? So to push through, to overextend, just to do anything, to go to the grocery store, you're putting a stressor on your body. We have to have enough resiliency and vitality to weather that stress and keep ourselves out of our migraine zone. So what's not talked about in the migraine community, people are talking about threshold, they're talking about spoons, they're talking about all this stuff, but they're not talking about how you can actually increase your resiliency and vitality, which is different than the threshold. Sometimes I think when I talk about this, people think I'm talking about threshold. I'm not talking about threshold. I'm talking about what I call vitality, what within Chinese medicine, what they call qi. In classical naturopathy, it's called the vital force. This is the organizing energy of the body that keeps everything functioning correctly, optimally, in a state of health, keeps everything tuned up. So this is not something you can take a lab test for and determine, but you can feel it, you can develop a sense of it, but it's a very real aspect. I mean, you could call it a life force. We are alive, right? We're more than just a bag of biochemical reactions, okay? There's a life force here. So that energy, that vitality keeps us upright, keeps us out of our migraine zone in the face of all of the stressors that we're bombarded by. And like I say, if you're going to push through and go to Target, or you're just going to go to Target, you're going to be encountering a lot of stressors, and you have to have enough resiliency and vitality to weather that. So when you understand that, and when you have restored your resiliency and vitality, then you get out of this calculation. Okay, you're not sitting there going through all of this mental calculating so that you can make it to Friday when you want to go to that concert. So here's the next one, the internet. Move your body, but don't overdo it, but also don't avoid exercise triggers. So this is another really good one that I've talked about. Your physical fitness level is not the same as your state of health, and this confuses a lot of people. So a lot of people think that they're healthy if they exercise and they're physically fit. A lot of people think they're healthy if they eat right, quote unquote, eat right. A lot of people think they're healthy if they get 8 hours of sleep. They have a, reasonable sleep routine. They're not staying up until 2 a.m. playing video games every night, right? They're like, oh, I'm healthy. I have a good sleep routine. this is the insidious part of this, right? Because for migraine sufferers, they go, well, I mean, I'm so healthy. I eat so clean. My goodness, if I didn't, I would get a migraine, right? I'm not eating all this junk food. I would never dream of that. I would get a migraine. I'm putting all this effort into my eating habits. I'm really healthy. I go to bed at 10. I get up at 6. I don't even sleep in on the weekends. I'm really healthy. My doctor ran my lab work and all my lab work was good, so I'm really healthy. My cholesterol's great. I'm healthy. I'm very physically fit. I run long distance. I run 5Ks. I'm very healthy. But I have these migraines. So migraines have nothing to do with my health because I'm very healthy, right? So this is the mistake that people make, right? Health supporting habits support your health, but you can be out of a state of health. If your body is generating symptoms, you're not in a state of health. This is not a moral failing. This is not a character flaw. It just is what it is. If you're experiencing symptoms, you're not in a state of health. So you can be physically fit and not in a state of health. Your blood work can be perfect and you can have symptoms. Your cholesterol can be great and your body can be generating symptoms. A lot of times, for migraine sufferers, they're encouraged to exercise, get movement, etc. But like I talked about on the last slide, if you exercise, you're generating physical stress on your body. And if your vitality is low, you could get a migraine because you can't weather that stress. So for a lot of chronic migraine sufferers, one of their top goals, most of my clients, when we start working together, of course, their goal is to not get migraines anymore. But other goals that a lot of my clients have is, I want to increase my physical fitness because I haven't been able to work out in a long time because I get a migraine every time I do. So I want to increase my physical fitness. And a lot of my clients, bless their hearts, they will try to exercise, right? Ugh, yikes, just the thought of that sends a cold shiver down my spine, thinking of exercising with, 3-4 migraines a week. It's a total nightmare. But I tell them, look, the time for more physical activity is when you're feeling better and you have more resiliency and vitality. So I have a lot of clients where it's like no more than a 20-minute walk, light walk around the neighborhood, stroll. Just do that if you want to get outside a little bit. But I'll be honest, I've had some clients where I've had to say no more than 5 minutes walk. You can't tolerate it yet. And then once they start feeling better, we start building up that resiliency and vitality, then they can start walking. What I found is if people can walk for about 40 minutes, that's about 2 miles, they're not experiencing symptoms after the walk. They're not feeling drained. They're not having head pain. Their muscles are not twitching and everything else after the walk. They're not sore. They're bouncing back. Then we can start working on more physical activity to really build, if people want to build more cardiovascular fitness, more strength. That's when you probably have the green light to do that. But until that time, we got to take it easy because we don't have that resiliency and vitality to weather the stress of exercise yet. So here's a sleep one. So here's the internet. Rest when you're tired, but don't sleep too much. Also keep a consistent sleep schedule, right? So this is notorious with migraine sufferers. If they get up earlier than normal, if they sleep later than normal, right? It's a nightmare, right? It can be a guaranteed migraine for a lot of migraine sufferers. And that's because routines conserve stressors. So when we have routines, when we do certain things at, predictable times, our body adjusts to that and it anticipates what we're going to do. So like if you think about eating, right? If every day you eat lunch at noon, at about 11:30, your stomach is like, okay, she's probably going to put some food in here. So I'm going to start making hydrochloric acid, and your pancreas is like, okay, the food's coming. I'm going to start making some enzymes, right? You're not just, putting food in a cold digestive tract. It's warmed up because you have this routine and it's acclimated to that routine. If you then suddenly miss the meal, right? Now your digestive tract is like, oh my goodness, what happened? What happened to the food? I made all this stuff and nobody showed up. That's a stressor on the body. Okay, so when we surprise the body, that generates a stress on the body. If we have no routine, if there's absolute chaos, right, this is also very stressful on the body because it never knows, like, what are we doing next? Should I prepare for this? Should I prepare for that? It doesn't know. So it's very stressful on the body. So that's sort of the underlying mechanism for this. What we want to do is we want to have a balance. So when we're in a state of health, we want to maintain health supporting routines on a typical day-to-day basis, okay? We want to, we don't want chaos. We want some predictable events so that our body can anticipate things. But we want to have enough resiliency and vitality so that we can weather something unexpected, right? So if the meeting goes long and you don't get your lunch at noon, you don't get a migraine, right? You can come out of the meeting and still eat your lunch at 1 and still feel good the next day. So here's the final message here. And this person who I don't know the person that runs this account. I'm sure she has every good intention. This is not at all any sort of comment on her. But what she says, what actually helps isn't doing more. It's calming the nervous system beneath it all. Fewer rules and more safety signals. That's where healing starts. And this is where I would disagree with the take. Why is the nervous system uncalm in the first place? When I think of a nervous system that's amped up, okay, on a hair trigger, keyed up, irritated, I think of that as a toxicity symptom. When there's a toxin overload in the body, everything gets irritated. The physical body, including the nervous system, which is composed of neurons, everything gets keyed up, overexcited, on a hair trigger. It's a toxicity symptom. So you're not going to turn around a toxicity symptom with fewer rules and more safety signals. You get rid of toxicity symptoms by removing the toxins from the body. And I've talked about what a migraine actually is on the podcast as well. A migraine is a hangover without the alcohol. I want you to think about that for a minute. I want you to think about the symptoms of a hangover, and I want you to think of the symptoms of a migraine. They're pretty much the same. There's a reason for that. But when we have a hangover from alcohol, we go, yep, I poisoned myself last night and now I'm paying for it. When we get a migraine, the same symptoms, more or less, we go, oh, I must have a migraine brain. I've got a neurological problem. I have a safety signal problem, right? I'm defective. I got bad genes, right? The body generates symptoms in predictable patterns. And when the body is poisoned, it generates symptoms. Since the dawn of time, this has been documented. The ancient Greeks documented these poisoning symptoms in a wide variety of poisons, not just alcohol. If somebody eats nightshade berries by accident in the woods, guess what? They're going to have a pounding headache. They're going to be totally light sensitive. They're going to be vomiting, right? They're going to smell something and go, oh my goodness, the odor, right? You can read about the symptoms that occur when someone eats nightshade berries and they're migraine symptoms. On a podcast episode, I went through lists of symptoms from different toxic substances. When people are poisoned with them, what symptoms do they experience? They experience symptoms that are the same symptoms we experience when we have a migraine. So to really address this, we have to get these what I call metabolic waste materials and toxin molecules out of the body. But we have to do that without harming the body, and we have to do that without giving ourselves a migraine in the process. And that's where my expertise, I've been developing this expertise over the past 9 years that I've been working exclusively with women with migraines. So, like I say, I'm sure the owner of this account has everybody's best intentions at heart, but when you're trying to solve the wrong problem, you're not going to get to the destination that you want to get to. So thanks so much for joining me on the inaugural episode of Triggered with Dr. Leslie, and we will see you soon. Hi there. I want to jump in real quick and tell you about my client Beth. She was getting 15 to 20 migraines and headaches per month, and as you can imagine, this was impacting her work performance and her confidence. She also has 2 small children, and she was starting to feel like she was a horrible mom because she had nothing left for them at the end of the day. But she reached out and she booked a free consult call with me, and after I asked her about her migraines and her health history, I felt confident that I could help her. I help women uncover the root drivers of their migraines and follow a step-by-step plan to dramatically reduce the frequency by up to 90% without adding more medication or taking a bunch of supplements. So we built her personal migraine map, followed the plan, and now she will get 1 to 2 migraines per year, which she uses ibuprofen to treat if she needs to, versus up to 15 to 20 per month when we first started working together that weren't responding well to any medication. She just reached out to tell me that she got a promotion at work, she's on top of her career again, and has been able to come off all of her migraine medication. But most importantly, she's a confident mom again, and she's attending birthday parties at Jump Zone with her kids and saying yes instead of saying maybe later. I've worked with women like Beth from all over the United States who were told, this is the best we can do, but they were still willing to dig deeper. So if you're serious about changing your migraine story, go to drlesliecaesar.com/apply or tap the link in the show notes, and on our free consult, we'll map out why your migraines keep coming back and the first 3 steps you can take over the next 30 days. I do cap new client spots each month, so if the calendar is full, the doors are closed for now. But if you're done feeling helpless and ready to do the work to heal, pause this episode for 30 seconds and book that consult call now.